fundamental
rights and liberties of Canadians.
Overwhelming force. Catalyze.
I did not provide any of that advice.
Use all
Catalyze
the federal government, including the emergency powers.
I did not provide any of that advice.
The economic crisis. I did not provide any of that advice. Car theft, home invasion.
The economic crisis. The economic crisis.
Surveillance. The economic crisis. The economic
crisis.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my series where we're making a game similar to the game The Binding of Isaac. In the last video, we made this menu screen, and since then I've added this character in the bottom right, and then I've added like this pixelated font at the top here, and you can see that like there's like little pixelated pixelations here as well, so like different like layers. I'm just gonna quickly show you how I did that. So if you look in Blender, I've just taken the character that I made in the previous video and I've added two principled volumes to this. So there's this one that has like the blue light that's like kind of shining in the background, but then I had like this dark one as well that's also there. So it's just like this one is kind of black, and then like this one has an emission and it's very, very, very light, 0005, right? It's super light. And so if we render this, you kind of get like this dark look to it, and then I also applied a glare onto it, so you can see like these are like little square boxes and stuff, and that's because we've applied a glare to it. So if you go into compositing, I've just added a glare and I've added a blur as well, and then I recorded the video, and then I used DaVinci Resolve to loop the video, so I only recorded one iteration of him going up and down, and then I repeated it using DaVinci Resolve, which is what I'm using to edit this right now. But anyway, that's not the point of the video. The point of the video is we've added a boss to the game, and that's Mark Carney, so let's go find him. So if you guys remember, the way that it works is that at the beginning of the game, when your character spawns into the level, there's a map that gets generated. So I have like a bunch of cheats in the bottom right. I just press M to reveal the map, and you can see on the right, the boss room is here. All of these tiles have a random number attached to them, which is a number between the first number in the game object associated with that type of room and the last number. So like, for example, this is a regular room. The room we're in is a start room, for example. So the start room would random between 0 and 1. So the only two possibilities are this room and this room for the start room right now. And then so if you go into the room above this, because it has all 4 doors, that means that it's a normal room. So it will random between 6 and 35. And then the same for the boss rooms. The boss room is up here. And so the boss room is going to random between 0 and 2. And so 0 is like the train boss that we made, the 1 is like the demon boss, and then 2 is now we just added a boss for Mark Carney. And Mark Carney steals your coins. I'm just going to pick up a coin or two before I get to the boss. Hang on. So let's see if we can make it without dying. Just going to go in the item room. Okay, so I didn't set a boss spawn spot for the Mark Carney boss fight, so let me just move my character around. This is something, oh, that's a lot of elbows. Okay, so to make this not glitch out, we actually have to put some of the stuff from our other boss fight into it. So we need a spot for the devil room to spawn in case you win the boss fight. That way, like if it tries to spawn this and it's not there, it's gonna crash. So let's just turn that off. And then so we also made this item spawn spot. So make sure this is far enough away from like the devil room. I guess like you're probably not doing this because I just made this room, so like I'm just letting you know like this is how you have to put the stuff into a boss room that you make if you're like making a boss room or whatever. And then you also need like a boss spawn spot, so this is where your character will spawn in the room. I'm putting it further away. I don't know if you saw at the very beginning of the fight or the video, but Mark Carney just hit me immediately with his stupid elbow thing. So I'm putting him far away so that he won't actually just like immediately hit me. So let me go find him again. All right, wow, we're in the boss fight. Totally, this is the one that spawned. But anyway, you can see that my light card is overwriting the map. Let me just get rid of that. I hope it doesn't one-shot him. Let me just see. Anyway, so there's some things. If you get hit by the boss, you drop coins essentially. So you can see also you can go into negative coins. It's kind of a symbolism of like I don't know. It's supposed to be funny. Maybe it's not. Also, it looks like the coins are not going back to white after you get above 0 again, which is wrong. But I bet if I get hit again, it will fix it. But anyway, so he has 2 attacks. He shoots these elbows at you, which disappear after a certain period of time. And then he drops these elbows from the ceiling. And then I just copied the same explosion from the fat enemy. So like if you kill him, hopefully I'll be able to do that. Let's see. I'm just going to turn on God mode and just one-shot him. Hang on, because I'm going to die. So if you kill him, you can see that he like blows up into blood. So this was, I guess, pretty easy. Like this room was really easy to make. Mark Carney sculpting him, that's something that will take a lot longer. This isn't really a Blender how-to video. It's more of like a Unity channel. So if you want to learn how to sculpt an old man, like he doesn't even really look like Mark Carney, to be honest. He just kind of looks like a generic old man. And because I cheated to get in this room, it looks like the spawning stuff is not happening. All right, so I'm just going to get into the code. So the reason that the devil room circle and the item didn't spawn is because, so when you kill an enemy, there's a method in our spell. Spell is attached to like the little balls that are going flying out of the guy's staff or the stick wizard's staff, right? If you kill an enemy, it checks if the word boss is in the title, which it is, but then it plays boss death, which is a method that's inside of our super class or the parent class for enemy. So the Mark Carney script, it inherits from enemy. And so inside of this, there's a method called boss death. And it's checking the rooms inside of the level for the first boss room. But because the level actually has the train boss room inside of it, because I turned this room on by clicking it and clicking the on button instead of it was taking too long. I kept going into the boss room and it kept being one of the other bosses and I just didn't want to waste any more time. So I just manually enabled it. So that's why I didn't do that. So this is what would usually put an item into the item spot. And then this is what would spawn the devil room sigil. There should obviously be some type of check here to determine whether you deserve to go into the devil room. Like if you didn't take damage or like some type of like level wellness check to see how good you've done. But anyway, so I'm going to go through the actual Mark Carney boss script now. So let me just actually pause out of this and I'll just turn this room on manually. So here Mark Carney is, and like I said, he doesn't really look like Mark Carney. I did some detail on the eyes, but from a top-down perspective, you can't really see it. And he just looks like a generic old man. I think the hardest part of this was probably making the hair. If you use the hair add-on in Blender, it doesn't actually create meshes. It just creates like a spot where meshes can go. So that's actually just a bunch of rectangles. So I replaced the hair with like rectangles and I just made it like a Fresnel effect between gray and white. It looks good, but it's I don't know. He doesn't really too much look like Mark Carney. He could be anyone. He could be Biden. He could be like, there's a bunch of old people that they just look like cookie cutter people that are like evil and yeah. So anyway, attached to him is all of the generic stuff. So we've made so many enemies in this channel. If you've been following through our series, you could go back to like the zombie enemy and that kind of stuff. And we've done like a lot of enemies. So you need a box glider. You could use a mesh glider if you want to, but a box glider gets the job done. And you need a rigid body. Just the default settings is fine. I froze all of the rotations and positions because you don't want him just like flopping around or whatever. And then so we've attached this Mark Carney script and then we have like a nav mesh agent. And then so inside of the Mark Carney script, let me just make this full screen. So we have all like the settings at the top here. These are all things that were pretty much dragged in. When the boss fight starts, we're overriding the start method because this is inheriting from enemy, and enemy also has a start method. You have to override the start method, and if you want them both to play, you actually have to call base.start, which we do want both to play because inside of this, this is inheriting from the damage script, which is what makes it so that if you hit an enemy, it will flash the colors to red. So we're calling base.start inside of this method, and this method calls base.start. So all of the start methods from all of the parents are playing. So right away, we're picking a destination. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Like, so we're getting a random spot inside of the wander radius. So if you click on Mark Carney, you can see on the right here, this is his radius, so his 55 radius. So it will pick a spot in a random circle around him, but then it will try to get a spot on the nav mesh. So sample position just tries to check if that spot can hit the nav mesh, and if it does, it will set the destination to that spot. And then if it doesn't, it can only wander within the nav mesh area. So I've created a custom nav mesh area. So if you just try to put the nav mesh surface onto the floor, it doesn't really work because, oh, there probably shouldn't be a sun there, but it doesn't really work because the floor is also underneath of these other things. We don't want him walking into the wall. And if you set a destination that's inside of the wall, he might actually get inside of it. And so that's just bad. So let's just find, where is the floor? Hang on. Nav mesh floor. Okay, I created a custom object for this. And then inside of this, I put a game object, and there's 2 colliders. And so we also don't want him standing, like if he stands in this corner, because the radius of him is like, it's a circle, he's pretty big, right? So if he goes on this corner here, he'll be halfway into the wall. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. Hang on. So if I take him, if he goes like past this, he'll be like half into the wall. So that's why the nav mesh is like taking up only the center portion of this. He can go over top of these like chairs and stuff because he's like big enough where he's like floating above it. But if he goes and touches like the wall, it kind of looks weird. And so we created this custom nav mesh floor for that. So after we've picked a destination, we've set that destination so he'll start going to it. Then we're setting the next attack time. So we have a timer, and the next attack time is between 0.5 seconds and 5 seconds. So every time this elapses, that's when he's going to either throw an elbow at you or he's going to rain elbows from the roof. So then we're setting the text field. So we're just getting where the text field is. This is the text that's above the character. So when he does an attack, he has like a little floating text box right above him that he'll say different quotes or whatever. So let me just see right here. So like he'll be like elbows up. And so when he does his attack, you'll be able to see that appear above him. We use the same method that we used for like our introduction script. So like in the intro to the game, there's like a video or whatever. So we're using the same kind of thing where it will type out the slogan, but it will wait. So each letter will get typed separately. It won't all appear at once. It will just like type every letter separately so that it kind of looks like he's saying it like in real time. And then we've got a bunch of slogans that we're adding to a list of string. These are just random things. So I went to the debate, like the leaders debate between, it's the Canadian leaders debate between Pierre Poilievre, Mark Carney, Jagmeet Singh, and Blanchette. And I just basically took a bunch of quotes of him talking and I put them in, just things that I thought would sound funny. Like elbows up is like obviously from the commercial or whatever, where he's with Mark Myers. This, where are your elbows? That's just me. I just said that into like the mic. Yeah, just different quotes that I found funny. And so then every time an attack plays, okay, so during the fixed update, so this is happening every frame, not every frame actually. Fixed update only happens up to 50 times per second. So it's not the same as a regular update. It's only 50 times per second maximum. So we're getting the direction of the player so we can rotate Mark Carney towards the player, and then we're moving him the rotation between where he's currently looking and where the player is so that he can look at the player before he does his attack. And then so if he gets to wherever he's going, he'll pick a new destination, but also there's a timer so he can only move between he'll only move after a certain period of time has elapsed. He'll get to a spot and he'll stop there. That way he has time to throw his stupid attack or whatever. And then if the attack timer is, sorry, this is incrementing the attack timer. If it becomes greater than the next attack time, then he'll do the attack. So the attack plays a text, which is like the method that we were looking at before. So actually we haven't looked at this. So it will random between 0 and all of the slogans that you added at the beginning, and then we'll pick a pitch. So the pitch is like yeah, the pitch of like how high pitch or low pitch it is, it's different. Like this will random so that each time he says one of these things, it will be in a different pitch, so it makes it sound like unique or different. It kind of makes it sound like kind of like trolly or whatever. And then these are all of the things I got these out of the debate mostly, and some of them I just said myself. And then we're animating the text using the method that I showed you before, and then we're waiting a second before we set the text back to nothing, so it takes it away before he actually does the next attack. And then, so where were we inside of the attack? Okay, so then we pick a random attack between 0 and 2, but this is actually only 0 and 1 because this is exclusive, so the 2 doesn't actually count. So if it's 0, it will spawn an elbow projectile, which is, again, it's very easy to make that in Blender. This is not really a Blender series, so if you want to learn how to make an elbow, it's literally just like a square box, and you extrude another square box, and then you subdivide it and you make very, very small adjustments. But yeah, and then we set the velocity to be random between 0.5 and 0.8. So the projectile speed is how fast it will shoot. And so it's randomly shooting. I think we set the projectile speed quite high, actually. So let me just click on him. Yeah, so the projectile speed is 200, and then we're multiplying that by 0.5 to 0.8. So 200 is probably a little bit too high. It should be 0.5 to 1, so it makes more sense. But anyway, so this will fire an elbow at the player, and then that elbow will destroy itself. There's a script attached to the elbow as well. So that elbow will, let me just see if I can find it. Hang on. Oops. Yeah, so this is the elbow script. So this script is actually attached to the falling elbows, and it's attached to the elbow that goes shooting out. So if it hits your character, then will damage your character for the amount of damage that's attached to it. So it defaults to 1, but you can change it to more if you want to. Then it picks a random number of coins, and it subtracts that from your coins, and then it spawns those coins as objects on the ground so that you can pick them up. And then we update the stats using an update method that we created in a previous video. So this just sets all of your settings back to the defaults. And you can see I fixed it so that the color will go back to white if you have greater than 0 coins. Your color will go back to white. Otherwise, it will stay red. And then we set damage to true. So you can only be hit by the elbow 1 time. So it's checking at the beginning if you're already damaged. If you're damaged, it will only do this once. And so if the explosion is not equal to null, then it will do this instead. So when it hits the ground, it will blow up into the explosion that we've attached to it. The explosion is just the bug enemy explosion script or visual effect that we made in a previous video, but I just changed the, I'll show you. Hang on, let me just go into my Mark Carney folder. Mark Carney. So the elbow explosion, you can see that it's just the one that we made for the bug explosion. So if you go back to the video on how to make a bug, it is kind of randoming the color very, very slightly. So let me just double click on it. Let me go to edit. Hang on. We could take a look at this quickly. So the only difference between this and the bug one is we're doing a random number into the hue. And remember, because we're using a picture that's green in the actual bug explosion, you can't just change the color by adding the color. So if you change this color, it won't actually affect it. You have to change the hue of it because it's using a green picture. So like if you want to make something that's a darker or a lighter color than green, you won't be able to do that with multiplying it by a different color. So this will just pick a random hue between 215 and 250, and we'll do that. So you can see that when we press play here. Pretty cool. Anyway, so then it will check in an area around where each of the elbows hit, because these elbows are falling. So there's an explosion that happens. So we're checking 10, like this is overlapping a sphere for 10 radius around where it hit. And if it contained, like if it finds your stick wizard in that radius, then it will damage your character the same way that it does up here, and you'll drop coins the exact same way. And then it will play this damage sound, but it's playing it very lightly. So 0.2. So this number here is the volume. So it's playing it pretty lightly if it hits you. And then, yeah, so then this is where we're actually spawning all these elbows. So elbows up falling is just the exact same elbow thing that we made. but we've applied a shader to it, and we've added this visual effect where like there's all these lights coming from like the roof of it. So inside of the particle system for this, or a visual effect graph, there's two different spawners. So this is just a simple heads and trails that you can just, if you just right click, there's an option for this. So like if you go to create node, you go to systems, it's just this heads and trails option right here. And then this is just a normal one, and it's going up. So the velocity is set to random, but the y-axis is really high. So it's 55, so it's super, super high. So all of the particles are floating upwards as it's falling, because this is attached to the game object. So it's going to stay where the game object is, but it's going to be going upwards. And the lifetime is extremely low. So 0.1 to 0.3 is massively low. And so we're setting this into a circle. So it's a circle around the fist. Let me just put this like over here. Whoops. So like these are the little particles. So I don't know if you can see them, but there's like little dots or whatever. Let me get rid of the blackboard. So there's like these little dots. That's this one. And then it's the same exact code, or the exact same entry thing for the heads and trails. So we're setting it to a circle the exact same way. We're getting the position. So I spelled paint wrong. So if you have a particle that spawns into a circle here, like this, and there's like all these particles that are around the circle, when you get the position and you set it as the velocity, like you add it as the velocity, that will make it go towards where the particle is. So this is the center. So like this particle, for example, will go this way, and this particle will go this way. So this makes it go away from the center, like outwards. And so like the higher this number is, the further away from the center it will go as it's falling. But yeah, so this is just the default heads and trails thing. And I just changed the colors to match the colors of the hue, or the color of like the actual thing. It's a little bit pink or whatever. And this shrinks over life. These particles could maybe be like a little bit bigger. No, that looks stupid. Never mind. They can't be bigger. Ooh, what did Control Z do? Anyway, I think it looks pretty cool. I think maybe this elbows up thing should have the default. I'm not going to bother with that right now, but like this could just be like the default. It will look cooler if it's not like see-through. Can I reset them? Is there like an option? Is there like a reset? No. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but I'll probably fix it off camera. I'm going to make it just go back to like the blue color, and then this could still be the red colors around it, but it will just make it look a little bit cooler, I think. But yeah, so I mean, then this has the attack script that I showed you attached to it. This is the penny. So this is from our this is a series of videos. So there's like a lot of videos that we did, and I showed you how to do drops already in a previous video. So the penny is just something we made in like a previous video. But anyway, that's pretty much it for the script, I think. I'm not sure if I missed anything. You can let me know in the comments. Like I said, this entire project is available for download in the description of the video for free. So you're welcome to download it and dissect it yourself. And if you guys are enjoying the series, make sure you like my video and subscribe to my channel. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.